For my project, I decided to focus on the disparities within living sustainably. When deciding to focus on this topic for my project, I wasn't really sure where to start or where to find relevant information, so I interviewed my friend Nichole Martin. Nichole is part of a group on campus called Sustainability for All, and not only is she very well informed on the topic, but she's also a role model of mine, so have a listen.
You and me, this land is your land.
So my name is Nichole Martin, and I am a junior here at Portland State University, and I am in a student group called Sustainability for All, which is geared towards making sustainability relevant to all ethnicities and not just a specific group of people that we think have been targeted to participate in sustainability on campus and in our city. And our student groups held some dialogues this term and last term called Beyond Paper and Plastic, taking sustainability beyond what we use in the stores, beyond recycling, beyond composting, beyond bicycling, and really kind of getting to the meat of the issue. We held dialogues on campus where we sat in a round table and we just kind of discussed, systemic issues like the new Jim Crow, talking about white privilege, talking about equity and how we can look at equity in the lens of sustainability and kind of in regards to environmental justice. Why do I think there's such a disparity? Gosh, I think this is a huge question, and I think it's tied in to a couple of things. I think with anything, I like to look at the sustainability movement. I think the reason why there's such a disparity, one of the large issues, is that it's completely environmental. Sustainability is only looked at in a lens from an environmental standpoint. And I think that for me, I grew up in Northeast Portland, and we were considered middle class. Now we'd probably be considered a little under that, but I grew up with an okay background. But I have family members and I have friends that lived in maybe the North Portland, in like the Villa area, or what is now the New Portland, the new, out in Gresham area. And for them, I think the reason why there's just this huge gap and misunderstanding in regards to sustainability is, how can I get someone to be sustainable or to care about sustainability when they're just trying to live from day to day? I mean, I'm all for solar panels and for going green, but why would I care about what kind of windows I use if I've got bullets flying through them? I mean, why would I care about there being garbage piled high outside of my street when I'm scared to go outside because I might get jumped by a rival gang? I mean, these are realities that are real to people. And I think before we just do this broad stroke of what sustainability looks like or what it means, I think that has to be taken into consideration. And I think asking people to give a damn, to care about sustainability on an environmental level, will first have to meet the need of that person. Some challenges. I can speak to this just because I'm in the movement on campus, and I've tried to take it into my community. I'm active with the Urban League, and I'm with the Big Brothers Big Sisters program and some other community efforts out in the neighborhood. And one thing that I hear constantly is this sense of exclusion when it comes to sustainability. And I'm just going to be really frank that in my community, sustainability has been labeled or has been seen or is seen as for white people. And what's discouraging about that as a person of color, when I've talked over with my parents and my grandparents, and my grandmother said something really interesting to me. She said, African Americans, black people have been sustaining for generations. Just that sustainability looked really different than it looks today. Sustainability, and I like to define it as a person's capacity to continue. And what that means to me, and I chose that really vague definition, and I didn't think of it on my own. I have to thank a cohort of mine, a teammate, who really helped us come up with that definition. If sustainability is someone's capacity to continue, it's recognizing that capacity is different for each person. Do I think this is a national problem or a local problem? In my, my very limited knowledge of this movement, I've just kind of entered this discussion, and I'm really passionate about it, but I'm more so passionate about justice and equity and how I can make that relevant in sustainability. So I think race and sustainability play a huge deal. I think locally, I think there is an issue. I think, kind of as I mentioned previously about the Exclusion Acts in Oregon and about some of the hurt that has gone on here as a community, I think there's a lot of healing that needs to go on. And I don't really know how deep that goes, but I do know that when I talk to my grandparents, who've lived in the same house since before I was born, about getting out and talking to their new neighbors, and there's this they don't want us here, and I don't want to impose, and there's this sense of we've lost the sense of it takes a village. Somewhere along the way, it used to take a village to raise a child, and somehow we've lost that. We've lost sight of that. We've lost sight of the fact that we make up the community together. That this is just as much my community as it is yours, and I have just as much responsibility as do you to make this community what I want and what I envision it to be for my children. So when I hear my grandparents and my great-grandparents who have lived through a couple of generations of hurt and pain and some discomfort, I understand where they're coming from. But my angst is in this movement is figuring out how to get them to move beyond that. And I think that would be transparent or be something that would be everywhere. I don't just see that being a Portland issue. I see that being a global issue. On an individual level, what can we do? And I'll say we because I think that I have to take ownership in that too. One thing I would like, if a friend of mine was asking me what can I do to make sustainability relevant to you, or what can I do to include you in this movement, what can I do? What can we do? What can I do as an individual to have this make this movement relevant? The first thing I would say for me, and this may not be for everyone, but for me, is ask me. Intentionally ask me that question. Ask me what sustainability looks like. Ask me, don't come in with an assumed knowledge that I know what composting means, that I know what recycling means, that I know why we're not using plastic or what the difference is between reusable bags or plastic ones. But genuinely and sincerely ask. Ask me what I need to be sustainable. Ask me about my life. Ask me about my backdrop, my narrative, where I come from. Ask me what I like, what I love, what I don't. And then I would hope that you would do two things. I hope that first you would listen. And then second, I would hope you believe. And I think those two things are critical in this movement, as if with any other movement. If people would just listen and believe what they hear, not make excuses for it, not define it, just let the awkwardness sit there, but listen and believe me when I say I've been offended, or when I say I've been excluded, or when I say I've been hurt, or when I say that I'm happy, or when I say that I'm excited. If people would just listen and believe, I think we'd really truly make a difference. And in regards to a community on a communal level, I think what I'm seeing, in Portland Public Schools, we're having some conversations, called Courageous Conversations, which is a book by Glenn Singleton, around dialogue around race and justice. And what I like about that model is it begs a conversation. And so what I think on a community level, if we could have conversations, I know that sounds like super broad and super general, but I really think change happens when we talk, when we come out of our comfort zones and we actually dialogue with one another. I think if we do those things, I think we'd see tremendous change in our communities and in our neighborhoods and our families, and I think healing would take place.
So, with that being said, I'd like to thank Nichole for her interesting interview. She definitely gave me personally a lot of insights and perspectives that I really wasn't thinking about before, and she really brought forth the question to my mind, If this land was made for you and me, shouldn't we all be equally educated on how to take care of it?
This land is my land.